Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in today's video, we are going to be talking about 10 classic, timeless, beautiful, amazing, gorgeous finishes that are not trendy. Okay, so we talk a lot about trends on this channel. I love trends. I think trends are great. I know a lot of people are like anti-trend and some people, but we all follow trends. Let's be real. And the truth is that trends are just ideas. You don't have to like them. You don't have to love them. You just let them, some of them can just pass you by. Some of them should just pass you by because they're just not for you. And that is okay. People are allowed to like other things, unless I voice a very strong opinion here on this channel. But regardless. But these pieces here are classic and timeless and wonderful and amazing, and they're not getting enough love. And that's okay, because these are the quiet things that you're gonna wanna actually choose for your home, because I'm gonna touch on the trendy alternatives that are out right now. I'm gonna touch on those as well throughout this video. And those ones may be great or not, but these ones are beautiful and timeless, and you will be happy, and you will not have to renovate your house in 5-10 years like you will with some of these other options. Let's get going. Okay, first up on my list is gonna be white marble. So I'm referring here, and I'm also just gonna also say like honorable mention to quartz as well. I know a lot of people don't like quartz because quartz is a manufactured stone. If you don't know, it's a mix of sort of crushed up sort of natural stone and then with a resin that binds it and then like a coloring agent or whatever to sort of create it. It's a manufactured slab, right? So it's created in a factory. It's not dug out of the earth, okay? But natural stone, white marble, of course, is. It's quarried from, you know, quarries, and they take a big loaf of it and then they slice it like a slice of bread, and that's what becomes your countertops. Okay, so that is what marble is. And I'm talking about white marble specifically. I'm talking about the Carreras. I'm talking about the sort of basic, simple, plain, subtle white marble that I think 10 years ago was really, really trendy, and I feel like has moved more towards big, bold, graphic marble. Lots of veining, lots of color, lots of pattern, you know, leathered finishes, like really cool stuff. And I totally appreciate that stuff as well. But I do think that white marble is more of a subtle, simple, timeless choice for most people. This marble, as I said, has been around for a very long time. But when I say a really long time, I mean like this stuff was used by the Greeks and the Romans, okay? This stuff is so old and so beautiful and so amazing. And it is a timeless option. I don't care what you tell me, although sometimes it can be a little bit high maintenance. Marble in general, like any natural stone, does require some maintenance. But I think what it does, it creates a really simple backdrop for people to work with. It goes with everything. It'll always look good. It never really looks truly dated. Again, it might come in and out of style, and I would say white marble right now is less trendy than its sort of graphic, bold brothers and sisters. But I do still think that this one is a classic choice for most people. And again, I'm gonna give an honorable mention to quartz as well, even though I think that quartz was definitely super popular 5 years ago, and still is a really popular choice. I think a lot of people sort of are moving towards these big, bold stones instead of working with some of the classic, simple, basic finishes. Because I just think for most people, when you're trying to, you know, you're going for the big, bold, crazy stuff, and then you need to book match it, or you need to like line it up properly, or you need like gorgeous, amazing fabrication. Like those are the things you're gonna have to do to get that big, bold look. And also here's the thing with the big, bold stones. Yes, they're gorgeous and amazing and fabulous, but also at the same time, they require you to have big, bold, amazing other finishes in your home. So it's not enough just to have a beautiful slab of Calcutta Viola. You're gonna also have, you know, gorgeous mirrors and gorgeous wall treatments and gorgeous flooring and gorgeous hardware and gorgeous lighting fixtures and faucets. And everything has to work in order for that stone to really have high impact, like you're seeing in some of these gorgeous photos and trending sort of designs that are out there by all the celebrity stylists and all the rest of it. But a gorgeous, natural, white Carrera marble is always stunning. Okay, next up is subway tile or any small scale classic tile pattern or shape, okay? Subway tile, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Again, it was really, really popular, right? You see this in farmhouse style, farmhouse design. I personally prefer the grout to more closely match the tile. I think going with something like a gray grout on white looks beautiful. I think the black grout on the white tile, it's high contrast and therefore it draws too much attention to the subway. That's just my own personal opinion in my own experience. But I would say a classic white subway tile, right? 3x6 subway tile is beautiful. Now, it comes in all sorts of patterns, okay? You can do the stacked pattern, you know, which is like the most common, sort of like the typical kind of brick format you might be used to, but you can also stack them on top of each other. You can do them vertical, like horizontal stack, vertical stack. You can do also herringbone, like there's different patterns that you can do with these tiles that are also gorgeous. And again, shout out to all the small scale ones as well. I'm talking penny rounds, I'm talking little hex tiles, I'm talking about like all just those little guys, those little cute little patterns that you have out there in lots of different materials. You could even even do it in a nice, beautiful Carrara marble if you so choose. Beautiful classic subway tile or a small scale tile is always a really, really good idea, especially in smaller rooms like bathrooms. I had really gorgeous black penny rounds in my last apartment that I put in my bathroom. Loved them. They were always great. So nowadays, a lot of people are really choosing the builder grade special, the 12 by 24 tile in lots of different colors. And that's what a lot of people are using for their walls or their showers. And honestly, this is one of, if not the most boring tile in the world. It is just, there's nothing to it. It's drab, it's builder, it's basic, it's boring. And I don't really like this tile very much. I mean, yes, they're usually very cheap and they cover a lot of ground, but I don't think this is the most interesting tile pattern that is out there. And these small scale patterns that are really beautiful and timeless have been around for decades and decades and decades. They work really beautifully well. They always look good. They're classic, they're timeless. They're not particularly hot and trendy right now because again, everyone likes the builder grade 12 by 2024. But I think the small scale ones and the subway are a classic timeless choice. Okay, next on my list is going to be granite. Granite just as a material. Okay, so this could be countertops, but this could also be furniture. This could be whatever. Countertops is usually what I want to really talk about here though with granite, because here's what tends to happen when it comes to trends. So often a particular design style or whatever comes and it's really popular. Let's talk about like farmhouse, like the subway tile, right? We associate, or even shiplap or whatever, all the other stuff that comes in. We'll get to more of those later in the video. And they become really popular, right? The boho was popular with like the vintage rug trend and the macrame and all these things that might actually be kind of cool, but they're very style specific. And the styles blow up and everybody copies it, and it's even more so on social media these days. We're all copy sort of the same things, and people, you know, are inspired by all these things that come their way, and that can be fine. But then these different classic pieces get sort of wrapped up in these trends. When the trend falls down, these classic timeless pieces and finishes tend to go by the wayside, and we sort of forget at the same time. I would argue granite fits into that category. It is so associated with the early 2000s, right? This was the Trading Spaces, HGTV. This was like the one that everybody wanted, right? Everybody wanted the granite countertops in the 2000s. Then it was replaced by quartz, then it's replaced by marble and the natural stones and the quartzites and all that, which is what's trendy right now. Granite though was the it stone of the 2000s, right? And I think we so associate it with the Tuscan kitchen, which I personally have made fun of at length and will continue to do so. Those types of kitchens were so trendy, so hot. And again, a little misplaced because you don't live in Tuscany most likely. Hi if you do, but if you don't, and you probably don't, then Tuscan kitchen's probably not for you. And we so associate granite with it, and therefore when the trend died, because you don't live in Tuscany, and you know, please see my recent video on how to spot a bad trend for why it does not work, then you know, what happened to granite? Well, unfortunately it got sort of caught up in the storm and everybody moved on and people wanted more white and gray and simple and basic and minimalist spaces. And that was the trend in the 2010s, that and farmhouse and all the rest of it, right? So the likes of subway tile died off when we ended our farmhouse love, courtesy of people like me. And sure enough, the Tuscan trend killed granite. And I think it's a real shame because granite is an amazing, beautiful material and it is starting, I think, to come back. This is what's gonna happen, my prediction. Granite's gonna start to come back. And why? Because people are gonna reinterpret how they can use this beautiful, timeless material in new ways that fit more into contemporary styles. And sure enough, granite will be trending again. I guarantee it. But as of right now, it is not. But I still think it's beautiful and timeless because it is a natural material and always looks good. And nature always looks good. I've said it here 100 times and it's the truth. Okay, next up is going to be brick. People seem hell-bent on getting rid of their old brick and whitewashing it. Everybody wants to whitewash their brick and you see it on TikTok all the time, and it's always difficult because brick is incredibly porous and that's their own DIY nightmare that I don't need to talk about. But you know, brick in itself as a material choice, I think is beautiful. You know, my old condo building was built in 95 and people used to always remark that the other towers that were built around the same time that were not made of brick look dated because they were like some gray stucco and some concrete. It was a lot of like the trendy materials at the time that were not brick. And my building had pieces of that looked really 90s, but then the brick actually always looked good. The brick building always looked good. And this is, you know, this is not a new tower. This is a 30-year-old tower that still looks beautiful because of the brick. Brick is a beautiful material that has been used for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It could be used inside, places like, you know, fireplaces or whatever, which again, the TikTokers are determined to whitewash into oblivion, or as a structural element, of course, you can use on your exterior as well. Sometimes like the veneer, I'm not a big fan of like everything being veneered, but actually brick is beautiful. And yes, I like the red brick. I think it's beautiful. I like the, you know, I think it always is a good option. I think it's really gorgeous. I think, you know, you look at some of these places in the UK, you know, the houses that are built out of brick, like these cute little cottages and stuff, Still gorgeous, still beautiful, very, very old. Stick with brick. It will date a lot better than some of these newer materials like, you know, hardy plank or, you know, all these, you know, how like a McDonald's and a Starbucks and a Taco Bell and a Wendy's, they all look the same. Those materials will date a lot quicker than brick, I guarantee you. Okay, next up is gonna be white kitchens. I know. I have listed white kitchens as a mistake before. Well, actually that's not the case. I have said in the past that not considering a color other than white is a mistake because white kitchens have always been, or have been relatively trendy, at least 5 years ago or so when I started on YouTube, they were everywhere. And I was kind of like, you know, there are new color options that are out there. There's also wood options that are out there. And sure enough, oak and now mid-tone wood cabinetry is definitely trendy again. And white kitchens, because of people like me, are no longer as trendy. But I have said in the past, and I will say it right here, right now again, and that is that white kitchens are still timeless. Are they trendy now? No. 5 years ago, yes, but they are still a beautiful, timeless choice. I think any sort of light tone cabinetry is always a good idea. I think that, you know, if you have like a dark espresso or something, that might look a little bit dated, but I think white kitchens in general always look like a really good idea. And again, people are, right now what's trendy is again, the oak and the wood tones and now moving more into the medium to wood tones and things like that. That's what's really trendy at the moment, the darker woods. White oak is still very popular and still a beautiful, gorgeous, timeless choice in my opinion as well, but white is not as popular as it used to be. But I still think, although overdone 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, incredibly overdone, it's still a beautiful timeless choice. Okay, next up is gonna be polished nickel and chrome. Now, this one is a bit of a cheat because chrome is definitely making a comeback here, but I think a lot of these traditional plumbing fixtures, kitchen fixtures and things like that, I think that they are not as trendy. And the reason for that is because black and brass have definitely taken over. Black specifically, I think we need to talk about. In the last several years, matte black hardware has really taken off and is now the builder standard. So now if I go into a home, I see light oak flooring, I see white cabinetry, generally speaking, or now, of course, I'm seeing wood cabinetry or like a navy or something, and then you see matte black hardware pretty much everywhere you go, and the 12 by 24 tile, obviously. But I would still say, for me, polished nickel and chrome are gorgeous and timeless. Now, they're not my personal favorites. I'm a brass man. It sounded weird and bad, but I'm a brass man. I'm gonna say it again. Double down on that one. But I just like brass. I like brass for like 15 years. I just like it. It's a warm, gorgeous metal. I like raw brass. I really enjoy it, okay? You got the nice patina that's coming in there. I like bronze as well. I just like a warmer toned metal. That's just my own preference, okay? But I can like other things that are not my style. I can still appreciate them. And I will say brushed nickel and chrome are beautiful and timeless. Been around for decades, always a safe choice. Matte black? I think could run the risk of going a little bit in and out of favor. I think personally the matte black on white everything is really high contrast and I'm not always a big fan of that one, but I do think that going with a chrome or a brushed nickel is always a lovely option. Okay, the next up is going to be a clawfoot tub. Now, I will say the next couple are gonna be specific. I feel like I'm the guy who like really made his name for himself on YouTube by making fun of farmhouse, and now I'm a victim of my own success because I have also said that there are a couple of things in farmhouse that are not actually terrible. There are some things that are truly terrible, like the word signs and things like that, and making yourself look like a farm when you live in a suburb of Phoenix, but there are still some cute pieces, and a clawfoot tub is one of them. I feel like, again, this is something that's very traditional and classic and been around for a very long time, but became so popular with the like subway tile and the word signs and the whatever, the live, laugh, love energy that just really took off, the shiplap, the trading space, no, what's her face? Joanna Gaines, right? All that stuff. I can't blame Trading Spaces for that one, even though I would love to, because that was truly something else. But I would still say that these are a classic choice. Just because the design style isn't trendy doesn't mean that individual elements that are really great are also great and are timeless and should stick around, right? So these are not as trendy as they were. People have moved away from things that what is popular instead right now is going to be freestanding tubs that are more of like a resin. They're more sleek, they're more minimal, and you don't get sort of the fussiness that you can get with a clawfoot tub, which a lot of people just aren't looking for right now. But I still think is a beautiful option and worth considering. And I do think that these will always be relevant and timeless in design. Okay, next up, in the same vein is gonna be butcher block countertops. I think that these are another really solid options. You see them, you know, in a lot of those farmhouse styles, but a lot of those kind of country styles, traditional styles, European kitchens. There are still lots and lots of great use cases for bringing in butcher block countertops. I do think that, again, people have moved in. Granite became the popular choice, and then it was quartz, and then it was the marbles and the natural stones. All these things work in cycles, but I do think that the The idea of a luxury build for most people now is a solid stone, some sort of a stone countertop. Whatever that is, again, the trends go in and out, but here we are. But I think people discount butcher block as a great option for people's countertops. It's usually a lot more cost effective than the stone options that are out there. And I think it creates like a hominess and a warmth and feels very traditional, and that can be really lovely. Not my style, I wouldn't do it in my own kitchen myself, but that's just because I'm more of a contemporary guy myself, but I will have an appreciation for butcher block countertops forever. Okay, and then next up is going to be white porcelain sinks in either an undermount or an apron style, but the apron style was so synonymous with, you guessed it, farmhouse, which is where there's nothing wrong with a white porcelain sink. I think they are a great choice. A lot of people have moved more towards sill granite, or because you can get them in like black, or you can get them in different colors. If you have a budget and apparently like you're not really hard on your kitchen, then I guess another option is to use the countertop material like a natural stone and do a built-in integrated sink, which is amazing. That was not really a good chef's kiss, but I just want to be really dramatic about it. That's also great, but again, like you're dealing with staining, you're dealing with maintenance, like it's also extremely expensive and the fabrication is difficult and like all those things. But you know, an apron front porcelain sink is still great. Like I still think a porcelain sink is awesome. Now, again, it is style specific. It's gonna read more traditional, it's gonna read more classic, but that's also in the very nature of what we're talking about in this video. I still think it's beautiful, it's still amazing, it's gonna be wonderful in kitchens. You know, it's a fabulous sink option. But again, most people have been moving more towards stainless steel or sill granite, or like I said, the integrated options. And those are beautiful too. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying those are bad. Those are also wonderful. Those are a lot more popular and trendy at the moment, but there's nothing wrong with an old school porcelain sink. Okay, and then last one, I'm just gonna give a shout out to some classic light fixtures, because I think that like a schoolhouse style light fixture, whether that's gonna be in a flush mount or semi-flush or whatever, I think are really, really beautiful. I love sourcing these from like vintage shops. I think there's some really cool ones that are out there. I found one actually in a vintage shop out kind of in the suburbs when I was checking out this little place that is just like a treasure trove of random crap, where I'm usually just running around the shop texting photos to my parents of like things they actually own in their own home. I'm like, look at this in this old school vintage shop selling for $14. Ceramic dishware that you've had since the 80s. That's usually what I'm doing in these shops. But when I'm not doing that, I am finding cool lighting fixtures like these, like that are these sort of like schoolhousey style that you see. That's what they're referred to. And they're really, really cool. There's lots of cool ones that are out there. They're awesome to buy vintage, like you can find them, but there's also great ones that they're still selling for new. But I think a lot of people have moved away from sort of vintage inspired or classic lighting fixtures that I'm talking about, and moving more instead towards pieces like those, which I don't like, or like the swirly LED ones, which I do not care for. I don't really like those ones at all. Or sort of knockoffs of mid-century pieces, which is another very trendy thing that you're seeing. So different variations of a Sputnik chandelier or something like that, right? That you're seeing so often. And I just think like these big, bold sculptural pieces is what people really want. And I understand, it's like a lighting fixture. You want to go big, you want to go bold, you want to have fun, and I'm not shaming that. I think it's also a really great, cool option to do that. But don't sleep on some of these classic designs. Like a swing arm fixture, I think is really cool. Like if you got like a little reading nook, rather than maybe doing a floor lamp like I've got back there, you could do ones that are attached to the wall, almost like a pendant, but they swing out when you want to use them. Like super practical, super cool. You can find those at vintage shops as well. Like those ones are really cool. And I just think people don't pay attention to some of these classic light fixtures that have been around for decades and decades and decades, and instead always defaulting to the new stuff. And there's some really just classic pieces that are also looking into. So I hope you enjoyed that video here. This is kind of a good way to look back at some of the pieces that have come and gone and that deserve a little bit more love. But now I'm gonna leave you with the video that I think you should watch next, which is how to spot a bad trend. So if you want to see kind of how I assess what those classic pieces are and then why I choose them and made this list, you're gonna wanna check out that one so you avoid buying the super trendy pieces that are not gonna be so hot and trendy in 5-10 years. See you on the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.